After his coffee break, Colts decided to go to a source that he had never gone to before, Canterlot Library. He had nowhere else to go and had zero knowledge of the paranormal, so what better place than a library to find the answers that he needed? The only thing he knew about the paranormal is that it was the study of ghosts and demons, and was not a subject to mess around with. He needed to know just how powerful a demon could be, and what they were capable of. The trip took a matter of 15 minutes, so he paid the pony 20 bits and proceeded into the large library, noticing no pony around. He had no idea where to start looking for anything related to the paranormal, so he decided to ask the librarian for help.
Looking for something?
Asked the librarian.
Yes, I need books based around the paranormal,
he confessed. The librarian gave him a strange look, wondering why he was interested in such an unusual subject.
You'll find that kind of content in the restricted area. We usually don't allow ponies back there, but seeing you are a detective, I can see it's for a good cause, she
said. He stood confused, seeing he hadn't even shown her a badge, nor presented himself as a detective.
How did you know I was a detective?
He asked. She gave him a sarcastic smile.
It wasn't hard to figure out. Here's the key to the restricted area,
she replied. The librarian held out a key in the shape of a skeleton key. It was rusted, as if it had never been used, immediately intriguing the doctor.
Thank you. It won't be long,
he said, grabbing the key.
Take your time,
replied the librarian, returning to her work. Coltstein smiled, then worked his way toward the back of the library, where he found a locked door. It was labeled restricted in bold letters on the wooden sign above the door. He started to feel as if some pony were watching him as he placed the key into the keyhole and turned the key. Coltstein pushed open the door into a pitch black room where he flicked on a light switch, brightening up the room. The room was frankly small, with 4 separate columns, each composed with a large number of books. The titles along the spines of the columns were written in a different language, so he couldn't depict any of the book titles as he worked his way down the first column, looking for any specific books he could read. As he skimmed over the books, he felt a strange presence within the room, and it only grew as he felt a cold chill run throughout the room. The chill was cold enough to make him shiver as he looked up, noticing the light flickering. He knew he was not alone. To protect himself, he grabbed his handgun from his belt, rounding the corner, immediately coming to the back of the room. He breathed heavily, watching his surroundings with caution. He walked slowly down the back of the room, looking down each column, ready to defend himself if necessary. Nothing was there, but he knew that something else was in that room with him. He just didn't know what. As he approached the end column, he caught a shadow in motion and, out of his fear, shot at it. The bullet only indented the wall as he trotted after the shadow, only to come to see nothing except an ancient-looking book on the ground. The book's title was in some other language and was plated in stone, unlike the other books, all plated in leather. The book intrigued the doctor as he reached down to pick it up, only to be startled by his phone ringing. He put his handgun back in its satchel, then struggled to answer the phone due to his hooves shaking uncontrollably.
Coltstein,
he said, answering the phone. The pony on the other line was Cadwell.
We managed to debunk the recording, and we caught something, but it's in some other language,
assured Cadwell. Coltstein felt a chill run down his spine as he stared at the ancient book he had come across.
were you able to decipher the language?
Asked Coltstein.
Yeah, it's Latin,
confirmed Cadwell. The doctor started to feel uneasy as he continued to speak to Cadwell.
Did you translate the audio?
Cadwell paused for a second, due to the answer being all but disturbing.
We did, and you were right. It's something very disturbing.
Philly's life on the line here.
Alright, it was translated to this. Tell him you die. Tell him I take your soul.
The message made Coltstein feel sick, because his suspicions were true, and now he knew that the case had taken a much more grim turn.
You okay, Coltstein?
Questioned Cadwell.
Yeah. I'm fine.
He lied.
I'm going to send you a picture. I'll need you to tell me if this is Latin.
Sure.
Replied Cadwell. Coltstein lowered the phone from his ear, navigating to the camera on his phone. Once he had the camera ready, he carefully took a picture of the book he had come across. Once the picture was taken, he sent it to Cadwell's phone.
Did you get it?
Asked Coltstein.
Yeah. And where the heck are you?
Replied Cadwell.
Never mind that. Is this book's title Latin? I need to know what its title. Is it Latin, Claswell?
He commanded.
Give me a sec.
Said Cadwell as he looked up the information on the book. Coltstein felt an eerie feeling come over him as he waited for Cadwell's answer. It didn't take long.
Holy Celestia! Where did you find this?
Exclaimed Cadwell.
Is it Latin?
Asked Coltstein.
Yeah, it is. The book is ancient, like from the days before Celestia and Luna. It's a book that was written during the grim days of Equestria. Its purpose was to rid demonic entities from fillies that were forced or persuaded to do evil deeds. It's supposedly cursed, and if any pony is to ever come across it, they are destined to die from their own doing.
Coltstein didn't know what to think, but it seemed as if he had found the perfect key to freeing Applebloom of whatever had come over her.
Where did you find that book, Coltstein?
Asked Cadwell in a concerned tone.
In the Canterlot Library. It was in the restricted area of the library.
He confirmed.
Coltstein, the restricted section was removed years ago.
Said Cadwell. Cadwell's tone had become serious.
Get out of there! Leave that book and get out of there! Coltstein, go! Now!
Commanded Cadwell. The phone line cut off as Coltstein quickly stuck his phone back into his pocket and rushed toward the exit, only to be shocked that the door was gone. He was trapped.
What the?
He exclaimed, wondering if he was just stuck in a bad dream. Through the eerie silence of the room, he suddenly heard a voice that made him quiver. He turned around, only to be shocked at the sight of a large mass of black with a pair of blood-red eyes. The entity was at least 12 feet long, taking the form of a serpent, and staring into Coltstein's soul.
Get out!
Spoke the dark entity. The strength of the entity's voice was strong enough to knock him to the ground as he slithered up against the wall, the demon following his every move. Coltstein's fear was surprisingly mild as he stared at the demon with all his confidence in his voice.
Now, you listen to me, you monster! I promised that Billy a saver, and that's exactly what I plan to do. If you think your threats are going to prevent me from saving an innocent soul from a sure death, you apparently don't know how strong I can be in the face of a wicked beast!
The demon didn't express any emotion, due to its face only being 2 red eye sockets. Therefore, Coltstein couldn't tell if he was intimidating the creature any bit.
You think you can save her? You couldn't save the last one, and her blood will forever be on your hooves. All you're doing is wasting your breath. Be warned, this is a battle you can't win, scum. You'd best give up before I use my full potential on the filly.
Taunted the demon. Coltstein watched as the demon faded into thin air, and he struggled to catch his breath. The exit had reformed in its place, so he stood back up on his hooves, grabbed the book he had discovered, and made his way out of the room, not stopping for any pony. Once he was outside the library, He immediately threw up on the sidewalk. He was immediately accompanied by other ponies due to his condition not being the best. He looked as if he hadn't slept for weeks and was as pale as a ghost.
Are you alright there, mister?
Asked one of the ponies.
I'm fine. I just need some fresh air.
He lied. The ponies could tell he was lying through his teeth, but they had nowhere to take the doctor, so they just sat him down on a bench.
You need to relax, sir.
Spoke the other pony. Coltstein gave them both a serious look.
No, I can't rest when there's an innocent life in danger.
He assured. The ponies expressed confused looks, unaware of what the doctor meant.
Who's in danger?
Asked one of the ponies.
None of concern, ma'am. I appreciate you helping me, but I need to get back on the case I'm in charge of.
The ponies could tell that he was serious, so they did as the doctor said and left him to be on the bench. Once the ponies were out of sight, Coltstein grabbed his cell phone and called Nurse Daisy's office. The line rang 10 times before Daisy finally answered.
Miss Daisy, it's Coltstein.
Oh, how goes the investigation?
She asked.
Not important. Listen, I need you to get Applebloom in my office ASAP.
He commanded.
Why? What's going on?
Coltstein paused before answering.
I fear Applebloom's life is in danger. Both mine and hers.
He assured. Nurse Daisy did not hesitate, knowing that the doctor was not kidding.
I'll get her in. Just be careful coming back.
She said, hanging up. Coltstein placed his phone back into his pocket. As he breathed in some fresh air, he put his hoof up to catch a pony cab. Applebloom sat across from Coltstein, expressing a look of fear. She didn't know what to think of this situation, because this was the first time she had been called into the doctor's office twice in one day. Coltstein was afraid himself, but did his best to hold a poker face, so that Applebloom would not suspect his fear. He knew that Applebloom was innocent, but there was still something he had to debunk. How this demon came to be in the first place. How did a filly as young as Applebloom come across demonic possession?
Okay, Applebloom, I'm going to ask you some questions, and no matter what, I want you to be completely honest.
Said the doctor.
I promise, sir.
Replied Applebloom.
Good. Let's start with the first question.
Applebloom nodded her head, showing that she was ready for the question.
I'm going to list some items, and I need you to tell me if you've been around of any of them. A Ouija board, a satanic Bible, and a pentagram. Have you been around of any of those objects? Applebloom, be honest.
Stated the doctor.
No, sir. Never.
Responded Applebloom. Coltstein was not surprised, seeing Applebloom was with her family most of the time, before all this happened. He proceeded to his next question.
Alright, Applebloom, next question. Have you ever been part of any of the following? Occult, witchcraft, rituals of any kind, involving sacrifice?
Applebloom shook her head, and once again, Coltstein did not doubt that she was telling the truth. The most obvious options for demonic possession were debunked, so now he had to resort to what he had suspected all along.
I'm glad you're being honest, Applebloom. Now, I'm going to need you to think hard about this next question.
Said the doctor.
I'll try.
Replied Applebloom.
Good. Now, I need you to remember what you did before you and your friends took this grim path.
At the sound of the question, Applebloom's expression changed entirely from afraid to skeptical.
Well, all I can remember is crusading with Scootaloo and Belle. I don't remember anything else from before.
Stated Applebloom. Coltstein did not even have to think twice about Applebloom's answer, because it was clear that she was lying. He did not want to make Applebloom upset by giving the usual answer, so he approached her differently.
Applebloom, try harder. Don't be afraid.
Said the doctor.
I swear, Doctor, that's all I remember.
Claimed Applebloom. It was clear that she was lying. He did not want to make Applebloom upset by giving the usual answer, so he approached her differently.
Applebloom,
Applebloom, try harder. Said the doctor. It was clear Applebloom was not going to break easily, but Coltstein knew just how to get some pony to pop out the truth. He had to strike her where it hurt.
Applebloom, remember when I asked you if you thought your friends were at peace?
He asked.
Yes.
She replied, starting to sob.
Do you want your friends to be at peace?
He asked. Applebloom sobbed and finally broke.
I'm just afraid.
She confessed. Coltstein found this response interesting.
What are you afraid of?
He asked.
I'm afraid of what will happen if I tell the truth.
She concluded. Applebloom's response nearly made the doctor shed a tear. He understood her fear because she was so young, and with the chances of possibly being forever bound to this facility for no reason, it would frighten any child. Coltstein understood she was upset, so he decided to put Applebloom into a more comfortable state.
Want to know something, Applebloom?
He said calmly.
What is it?
She replied.
I'm afraid too. But I'm mostly afraid for you.
He said.
Why?
She asked.
Because you're my patient, and it's my job to find closure for you. I'm the one who's trying to get you out of this place, because I know for a fact that you did not commit murder, Applebloom. However, you must understand that unless you tell me what it is you are holding back, I cannot get you out of here.
Really? You're trying to help me?
Yes, but only if you let me.
Applebloom paused, shedding small tears. She wanted to give the doctor a hug, but something was holding her back from it.
What's holding you back, Applebloom?
Asked the doctor. She paused, starting to sweat. Coltstein had an idea of what was happening, but this time he had come prepared.
She won't let me tell you.
Confessed Applebloom.
Who, Applebloom?
He asked. Applebloom struggled to answer, so Coltstein grabbed something that he had planned to use a weapon against what was starting to possess Applebloom.
Why don't you let her answer her own questions?
He exclaimed, holding out the book he had found in the library. A sinister shriek erupted from Applebloom, piercing Coltstein's eardrums.
Be gone!
He yelled, holding the book closer to Applebloom. The shriek from Applebloom echoed throughout the room until the demon finally gave up, and Applebloom was free again, but only temporarily. The young filly was confused and frightened at the same time as she looked at the doctor.
How did you do that?
She asked.
No time to explain. Who is this demon, Applebloom? Where did it come from?
Concluded the doctor. Applebloom hesitated.
Are you sure she's gone for now?
She asked, frightened.
Yes. Tell me, Applebloom.
He assured.
Alright. Her name is Annie. I don't know much about her or where she came from.
Coltstein expressed a smile. One piece of the puzzle was solved, but he still needed to know how Applebloom had come across this Annie.
Applebloom, I need you to be honest with me. Before all of this started, did you ever come into contact with any pony that had access to the spiritual objects? Please, Applebloom, now's the time to tell the truth.
Alright. About 1 week before all the Unmarked started, I came down with a fever, and I wanted to get better as fast as possible. Seeing she knows all sorts of cures to all sorts of things, I decided to visit a friend of mine for a possible cure.
She confessed, falling to tears. Coltstein grabbed a pen and some paper, now that he knew Applebloom was aware of the danger, and only the truth was going to set her free.
Who is this friend?
Asked the doctor.
She's a witch doctor that lives in the Everfree Forest by the name of Zakora.
She replied. Coltstein wrote down Zakora's information, knowing the case had taken a new turn.
Good, Applebloom. Did Sakura give you any sort of medicine?
He asked.
Yeah, and it worked like a charm. I was better the next day.
Confirmed Applebloom.
How much did you take of this medicine?
Asked Coltstein.
3 doses.
Replied Applebloom. Coltstein wrote down the information then sat the pen and paper on his desk.
Thank you, Applebloom. We've done here.
Applebloom looked at the doctor with a sad expression.
Are you gonna arrest the coral?
She asked.
If necessary. I'm afraid so.
Replied Coltstein. Applebloom lowered her head, unsure if she had done the right thing. Once the session was done, Coltstein alerted the police of his newfound suspect, asking to bring her in for questioning. Had he just solved the case? Only Zecora could answer that question. Coltstein had no idea what he was about to discover, but he knew he was one step closer to proving Applebloom's innocence. Or was he?